Go back to that tweet. You see on the side, they actually hyperlink to MCCL, their Twitter account, X account, sorry. Okay. So they're actually promoting this outside group, right? Nonpartisan outside group. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's go into the B2, Dawson. Now, this is actually why when I was leading Action for Liberty, this is why I started talking about it. I saw an article by MCCL that said tax-funded abortions in Minnesota hit an all-time high. This is from March 25th of 2021. I think this is the first time I probably knew about this program, but this is when I really got interested in exposing it because I noticed, wow, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? I did this before. I think maybe there was one in 2017. I just quickly did a Google search. Okay, disregard it. They've probably done these articles many times, but they talked about how tax-funded abortions in Minnesota hit an all-time high. I want to say it was like 2017 when I first looked this story up, or why that is. I was like, well, this is interesting. Why are abortions or how are these abortions funded? This is MCCL. They're calling out. And nowhere in their article did they actually mention how this is funded. And so I was like, well, let me research. And I find out it's funded through the Medical Assistance Program, which got, in that year, 100% support by Senate Republicans. I'm pretty sure I got 2017 right. In fact, that year, I think it was SF 67. No, I got the number wrong on that. It was 67 senators that voted for it. Like, all senators voted for the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill. The one omnibus bill that covers all of welfare and health care, the thing that the Republican and Democrats were supposedly night and day different on, was funded by all 67 senators. Like, oh my God, we got a problem. You want to talk about a uniparty? They all agree on that. And in there is the medical assistance program. We go, well, that's interesting. MCCL acknowledges that there's more abortion funding than ever before, but where the heck was it? Becky X says, wasn't it SF1? I think that's correct. Yeah, it probably is SF1. But they know it exists, but they don't follow the crumb trails. Why don't you follow the crumb trails? Well, maybe you don't really care about getting to the bottom of the story. Okay, so this is a group run by Scott Fishbach, who is the husband of Michelle Fishbach, the rhino that they're protecting in CD7. Go ahead and pull up the B3, Dawson. This is Alex Plekish. What's the date on here? March 19th of this year. Now think about this. This is a new election cycle. People will go to caucus next year, and they will become delegates, and eventually they want to determine who they want to endorse as the Republican for office. And Alex Plekish releases a statement. The Republican Party of Minnesota proudly supports Representative Fishbach in her re-election campaign and looks forward to her continued work fighting for the Minnesota values in Congress. Minnesotans are fortunate to have Representative Fishbach's steady leadership in Washington. Why the hell is Alex Plekish endorsing a congresswoman pre-actual party endorsement?
Well,
that's tilting the scales in her favor.
It's not even like it's just a personal endorsement. He's doing it on behalf of the Republican Party of Minnesota. That's totally not allowed. It's ridiculous, and it shows why he's so close with the MCCL then, because if he's protecting Fishbach and putting out this statement, but it makes us question, well, what is going to happen at the next CD7 endorsing convention? Is Plekish going to go there and say that it can't even happen? You're not allowed to be able to vote on that? That the delegates can't have a say because the Republican Party has already decided that Michelle Fishbach
we don't need delegates. We don't need the people.
What's the point of having?
What's the point of having the people?
Why have a convention at all if you've got Alex Plekish who's just going to decide that the incumbents are all fine enough?
Yeah.
All of the incumbents are good enough, according to Plekish. So don't even question it. Don't try to challenge anybody. All you can do is just vote for the Republicans.
Why don't you just award Mitt Romney all the Willard Romney, what is it?
Yeah,
Willard Romney. Give him all the primary votes from Minnesota. Just award it to him.
Yeah.
Why do we need to show up? You should, well, geez, whoever you want to run in CD2, just give them the endorsement ahead of time. Guys, stay at home. Don't worry about caucusing. Alex Plekish is going to figure out who to support pre-endorsement. What a joke. What a joke. Okay. Let's go to, and some of you guys who've been watching the show for a while have seen this before. In 2022, in a contentious political year, MCCL, no, I'm sorry, this is 2024. This isn't 2022. What am I talking about? This was just this last election cycle. Let me see if I got that right. Yes, last election cycle. They hired Michelle Tafoya, who is pro-choice, to basically sell out on the the pro-life movement. She basically says that people need to make tough decisions when it comes to their health care, alluding to some people need to have abortions. This is from the supposed leading pro-life group in Minnesota, and they ran this as a network TV commercial and cable ads. Go ahead, run this.
I've been in the media long enough to know a spin cycle when I see one. Democrats are running ads saying Republicans will ban abortions. Really? I know sometimes women have to make difficult decisions, but I also know Minnesotans want reasonable abortion laws. The truth is, the state Supreme Court has already ruled. Any abortion ban would immediately be declared unconstitutional, period. So when the Dems say there's going to be a ban, they're lying to you.
That's a pro-life group that put that out. It's unbelievable that they spent donor money to put out a commercial selling out on your cause. Like, oh, sometimes women need to make those decisions. Sometimes they need to abort their baby. Okay? Very moderate position, right? I just want people to understand this is a group that's supposedly the leading voice, according to Alex Blekesh, on the pro-life movement. What were you going to say?
Well, and, I think the first part of her commercial there is actually pretty funny and even kind of true when she says, Republicans are going to ban abortion. Really?
Yeah.
Because it's true that, I mean, look at the state house. These Republicans are going to defund abortion or try to get rid of abortion. Really? Of course not. So, she actually does kind of have a point that, a lot of these Republicans don't actually believe what they claim to. And I have to wonder with that commercial if it actually did flip any voters or if it just made the base upset. I think that it just made the conservative base more upset at Michelle Tafoya and MCCL more than it did flipping any kind of moderate or liberal voter. And people need to keep in mind that Michelle Tafoya is obviously, it's looking like she's planning a U.S. Senate run. So I'm sure that will, that commercial and plenty of other things will probably be highlighted again in the future. But yeah, I mean, the fact that came from MCCL, I could see, if that came from a moderate group, it would be one thing. This is a pro-life group. This is their issue. So it shows that they're frauds.
Think about this from like Action for Liberty's perspective, which if you had to label Action for Liberty as the most important issue that they fight is emergency powers by a governor, right? Never again bill stopping that. Imagine Action for Liberty came out with a commercial, and apparently Michelle Tafoya is hireable. She goes, I know the Democrats are saying Republicans want to end unilateral emergency powers by governors, but that's just talk. Those are just lies. Yeah. Sometimes governors need to make those tough decisions.
Right.
They're not, and the courts will side with them. We know that's not on the ballot here. Yes, it is. That is exactly what we want. Why would we sell our people out on that issue? What does Andy have to say? Why is Michelle even relevant? Well, she was on NBC News, Andy. Like she's a quasi celeb. Yeah. She probably, I don't know her. I don't think I've ever met her.
People definitely
probably
know
nice
who
person.
She is. I mean,
disagree on that issue. Shouldn't be hired by a pro-life group.
Right. I mean, people definitely. What was she? SportsCenter or ESPN? Whichever one she was. I mean, people definitely know
NBC.
her.
She was NBC News or NBC Sports.
Okay. But regardless, she, obviously she's got some name recognition. She's been out there for quite a bit. People were saying she was going to be Kendall Qualls' lieutenant governor. But Qualls wasn't even willing to admit that to the body of the delegation in 2022 when he was running. He was just going to try to sneak that in after the fact. So we'll just have to see and follow how that ends up going.
Okay, now here's a story you probably have never heard about MCCL. This is very interesting. Now, listen, I hear MCCL trashes Action for Liberty all the time, so this is all fair, right? All's fair in love and war. But listen, I do think it's important for people to understand. People call Action for Liberty scam fraud group. I'm pretty sure Action for Liberty raises money telling their donors exactly what they're going to do, and it's just not kosher to the Republican establishment because they don't like it. But they don't lie about what they're doing. Here is a very interesting story, and I don't know how MCCL looks good in this. This is a Star Tribune reporting on a story that they had written or talked about before. Minnesota group opposed to abortion loses battle to collect $842,000 from man's estate. Saying he was inspired by the March for Life, a rally against abortion held at the Minnesota State Capitol every January, a Minnesota man gave nearly $850,000 to Minnesota citizens concerned for life. His son stopped payment after his father's death, saying his father had not been of sound mind. Okay, get ready for it. It's interesting how they wrote that. Just death, not of sound mind. Here's the nugget that's important. A leading group in Minnesota that opposes abortion has lost its battle in court for a donation of nearly. I'm sorry. Oh God, that must. I'm reading the version that's doesn't have the whatchamacallits on it, the ads. John Charles of Forest Lake made a gift of almost $850,000 in February 2022 to Minnesota Concerned Citizens for Life, MCCL, and its affiliated education fund, a gesture that emptied a family trust fund. The next day, ready for this? Charest died by suicide at age 81. His son, Nick Charest, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Charest, I don't know. It's Charais, of Bemidji, stopped payment on the donation checks and said MCCL knew his father wasn't of sound mind when it accepted the money. The group sued the son last fall in Beltrami County District Court for the money. Last week, Judge John Melby sided with his son and dismissed MCCL's suit. Explain to me how MCCL looks good here. That just sounds evil, to be honest with you. Okay?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the idea that
what happened there was they took money from a guy who killed himself the very next day. And then when the family tried to retrieve that money back, they refused to give it.
Well, the money never exchanged hands. So this is even crazier, right? So they stopped the payment of the money. Okay. All right. So now, for those that have actually done fundraising, first of all, if you are raising $850,000, you meet with that person. Okay. You get to know that person. If you have an inkling that that person's not of sound mind to give that money, you do not take that money. That is very problematic. That's very unethical. We're not in that meeting. We don't know, okay? But what we do know is the next day the guy commits suicide. Now, maybe MCCL at that point didn't know why the payment got stopped. I understand. That's a huge payday, $850,000. I think they're like $1 million a year organization. That's a huge, when you're almost double the size of the organization. I understand that, okay? And you might not understand why it's stopped. But the guy, obviously, I assume you followed up on your new big donor, your biggest donor. It's got to be your biggest donor. And why that payment was stopped. And you found out he died, and you found out he died by suicide.
Right.
And then, because you didn't collect that money, and it rightfully was kept inside the family because he died by suicide, he's not of right sound in mind. You sue the family and pull them into court during that time of grieving?
Right.
Unbelievable. I don't know the argument. If someone's watching this and can make an argument how they sound good here, please do. That sounds just straight up evil for a pro-life group.
That one is pretty crazy.
Well,
What's that? Sorry, what's that?
I was just, that's pretty freaking crazy. Like,
100% it's bad. Andy, you've got experience fundraising. How terrible does that sound?
Yeah, and I see one comment here from One Baby For Me says, I called MCCL and asked them about Michelle Tafoya's ad. I asked if isn't Michelle promoting pro-choice with her language, and the answer was no. That's not what she was saying. So apparently MCCL is just denying it. Just like
we can see what they're doing there.
But that's the tactic of the establishment. Look what Alex Plekish is doing. Just lie. Just say the opposite of what's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Same thing with MCCL. And One Baby For Me also continues on saying the people need to stop sending money to the MCCL. They are the biggest scam. K-Wall for Life says, did that guy recently meet Bill or Hillary Clinton? You know, that's always one explanation for why these mysterious suicides end up
most
happening.
likely he was really in a depressed state of mind. That's what the family's arguing. And it's terrible. Here we go. Andy's done fundraising in the past. The argument would be that this happens a lot with children and wealthy. Yes, MCCL has an obligation to protect and honor the donor's intent. Generally correct. In the circumstance here, the person commits suicide the next day. Like, you can't ignore that. Like, that is not of sound mind. The guy commits suicide. Like, someone that's willing to take. By the way, I think they're against suicide too, right?
Well, at least assisted suicide, right? Yeah.
So with that being said, because he's right. There are these issues where kids want to inherit daddy's money, and they're upset that daddy had some other idea or mom had some other idea with that money. That does come into play, and that's tricky as well. And I could see both sides of that. But when the person clearly is not of sound mind and does that, I just don't know a good argument for it.
And it's giving away, his life savings essentially. But yeah, K-Wall for Life, a $20 Rumble rant. We appreciate that. K-Wall says, keep up the good work, team. We have your back. We appreciate it because, obviously the establishment is after A4L, and it's because of the support of the people in the grassroots that keeps A4L moving.